Hey, it's Spencer. I'm out here in the agroforest. We're going to be working out here, working this coconut row today. Check it out a little bit. Right along here, we've got a couple coconuts planted along in this row. We've got some sugar cane, and then we've got pineapples in the low. So it's been a while since we came out here and managed. The tall grasses are pretty tall. It's kind of floppy, so it's not quite a timely management, but a little bit of a delayed management. And then what we're doing is we're cutting the bottom, cutting the ground, so that we can have some space that we can come and cut these trees up here. These cecropias, these albesias, they're all a bit tall. They're kind of shading our coconuts, so we'll want to come and cut them down and mulch them into our rows, but we need to have a zone to be able to put the material, so we got to work the row first. And then all of these trees will come down, probably not today, but in a few days, and then we'll mulch them along the edges of the row. Just walk down a little bit. Yeah, there's some sugarcane flop. And just a bunch of overgrowth. Coconuts are looking good though out here, so you know, the coconuts are the target crop. The coconuts are a low-bearing coconut, so they actually produce basically on the ground. So we really need to give them as much sunlight as possible. So right now what's happening is not ideal for them. But, you know, we kind of lacked on our management of these bigger trees here. Just been busy with other projects and stuff. But it's time to come in, clean it up. I think we'll probably take some of the trees out of the inner row over here. Pop through onto this side. So some of these trees we'll probably take out as well, because you can tell it's super shady back here. It is an overcast day, so it might seem a little more shady than it is, but pretty dense out here. And then all of this Mombasa grass is nice and tall, but that'll give us a ton of vegetation to put down. Sugarcane's flopping. And then we're going to briefly talk about our sickles and how we utilize that tool, because that's actually going to be our most important tool during this management today. All right, so I want to talk about one of the main tools that we use here. It's a sickle. It's called a comma also. So we just kind of started working part of this row, so we can have an example of how we utilize this tool. So this is a Barnell 7-inch sickle, serrated. This tool has been super useful in general. It's one of our main tools that we use for most of our types of management. In recent years, the brand has changed the product. The metal is not as good. It doesn't last as long of a tool. The price has gone up. Actually looking for new brands now at this point. I've been using this sickle for about 7 years now. It's been great, but time to move on. So we kind of opened up this zone here just right now as we were working, so we can have a little bit of an example of how we utilize this tool when we're working our rows. So here's a coconut here. Julie's going to do an example here about how we utilize.
All right, so first off, I just want to point out that we do use this hose clamp on here to strengthen it. This blade here will get wobbly, so we put this on to try to hold it in the plastic a little bit longer, especially when we're cutting through like some more difficult stuff. So first off, something that we're using it for is cutting grass. So basically I'll just get in here, I'll grab as much as I can with my hand, and then I'll cut it where I want to cut it. This one I cut it pretty low, and then this is ready to go on my row. Now, something I can also do if I have a nice sharp sickle, this one's fairly new, so it is still sharp. I can use it for, you know, cutting the material up a little further, just kind of chopping at it a little bit. And then I have smaller pieces of whatever I'm working with. So it's also good for cutting some slightly more woody material. This is, I mean, pretty fragile. This is pretty easy to cut. Some Hyptis, just one of our weeds here. And then we can also get some more sticky material. So here's this guy. I can just go ahead and slice through that. That's dead, so that was pretty easy to cut. I may be able to get something up to this size. We'll give it a try. All right, not super easy, but it did still work for that. It can be used also for just kind of beating leaves off of stuff, kind of like a machete in a pinch, and also, you know, kind of breaking that down. And then finally, it can also be used in the ground. I'm not going to use my nice sharp one in the ground, but I do have one down here. So if I really do want to actually get the roots out of something, I can, you know, go to the base of some kind of weed. Let's see. This one goes pretty far. It's rooted in a couple places. But what I can do is, you know, just kind of pull up on the weed so you know where the base of it is, and you can kind of get this under the soil. And so I don't like doing this with my sharp sickle. Oh yeah, this continues for a ways. Yeah, so this guy might not be totally out, but it does work pretty well for getting things out of the ground, especially like little clumps of clumping grass. This clump of grass, if I were to just like pull it right out, it's going to come with like a big clump of, you know, cinder and soil and stuff that I don't necessarily want to displace. So I can use this to just kind of get just below the soil line and kind of carve out enough of the roots so everything that is above ground, there's no longer something, you know, the leaves for it to photosynthesize, and just enough of the roots that it probably won't resprout. So less soil there. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of work here so you can see kind of how we're managing the ground and then making room so we can put mulch on top. So I like to give myself some space here, just as much as I need, with the grass in the outer row, or inner row, sorry. And I'll usually put stuff like this just back where I've already worked and cleared. And then so I've got enough room here to get my body in. And so I'll just come down to the ground here. I can use this to kind of tease the vines out of the species I want to keep, or I can just go ahead and cut these. This is sisu. It loves a prune. It'll grow back. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and cut things. This is Itʻs. It's kind of weedy. It's a good weed though. We use it for mulch a lot. It may come back from that cut. It may not. Not a big deal. So yeah, we'll basically just get all the junk out that we don't want. And then I can come back and get some of my good mulch. And start laying that down. And sometimes I'll save some of the more icky things that I don't necessarily want to regrow, like this vigna. If this comes in contact with the ground and it's been rainy, it may actually root back in. So sometimes I like to put it back on top of the mulch, so maybe there's less of a chance that it's going to resprout. If I'm really mad about it, then I'll just leave it in the inner row so it'll get mowed or weed whacked or, you know, destroyed, and definitely not have the risk of it growing back into the row. All right, one more thing I wanted to mention was the sickle, especially if it's not super sharp, it will not always give you the cleanest cut. This is kind of a dead branch, so maybe not the best example. We do have another one over here that was just cut with the sickle. The cut is not as clean as, you know, you would want to leave on a tree that you care about. So if this is just one of our weedy Albizia trees. We're gonna phase these out pretty soon anyway, so we don't really necessarily care about this one staying super healthy. But if it's a tree that you care about, like, use your lopper, use your handsaw, and get that clean cut, so no, you know, diseases can make it into there. All right.
May as well show a cut.
Clean cut. All right, I think that's it for Sickle 101.
Alrighty, so we just finished our management out here of our coconut row. We'll take a quick look through, check out what's going on. But on this side, so this side was the side that had the camera, the time lapse going. So some of this grass here is still a little bit tall. My plan is to come through and weed whack that to make it all uniform and lower. There's still some of this matty grass out here that I kind of didn't want to throw into the row. So it'll be easy to just come through and clean it up with a weed whacker, make it all tidy again. Let's see, and then we can check out the row. So we got our low-bearing coconut, we've got pineapples, we've got sugar cane, more pineapples, more sugar cane, basically just the same pattern repeating over and over and over. We got another low-bearing coconut there. We came through, we cut our naturalized trees in the center here. We're actually going to come and cut them down to the ground in the next few days, mulch them out, that way they'll be gone completely from this zone. At this point they're just creating too much shade for our coconuts, so we really just need them out. They've been great plants for about a year, 3-4 months, so it's time to take them out, give everybody, we need to have more room, have some more room, that way the canes can, you know, come in, get thicker. You know, everything wants that sunlight out here that we planted in this row. We still need to come and get these naturalized trees down and out. That'll all be chainsaw work. We'll come and do that in a few days. We just basically did as much as we could do with the hand saws. And then we just mulched it on the edge of the row here. Right, we got fat berms. It's hard to tell here. About 2 feet tall right now along the whole side of both sides of the row. So tons of mulch. We still need to come and cut that guy down. Chainsaw work. All right, lots of chainsaw work up here. Our fence line is just right here, so basically everything that we can see over here we're going to try and take down. Make another video about that when we get there. Another thing I wanted to come and point out is our grass over here, right? So we left it kind of tall. So there's a particular reason, because there's this plant out here, Wedelia. I'm not a big fan of this plant. It's toxic to livestock. We're trying to get our ducks out here probably in the next 6 months, so we really don't want to have toxic plants out here. We really love our animals. We don't want to have any issues with that. It's kind of a problem plant, the Wedelia itself. You can tell over here it's got that yellow flower. It's a pretty plant. It's a little bit difficult to manage, so we're taking it, we're throwing it out of our row. We want it out. Ideally we would get it out and throw it out there completely. Every time that, or not every time, but when I established the grass, I came through and got all of it out. When we established the row, we took all of it out. So it keeps coming back and keeps coming back and keeps coming back. So this Wedelia is a plant that I'm not actually sure if it can phase out, because it's a succulent, low-growing, shade-tolerant plant. So really what we would rather have is other plants that are filling that same niche, but are not that plant, because it's just a hard one to work with. It grows, it sprawls, and it kind of mats. So not ideal, but we've got this other plant that we call Hono Hono here. Where is it? It's kind of hiding under here, actually. Not really the best. I don't have the best visibility of that one. Actually, this one here. What is it? Camellia or something. I can't quite remember the genus. There's some common names, not really the best names to use. So we'll just go with Hono Hono. So I'd rather have that one out here. Our ducks actually really like that plant, so that would be ideal out here. And then we've got like our sisu out here for them. So we're trying to make it, you know, duck duck tolerant out here. Yeah, so we didn't manage this stuff. The plan will be to just come and weed whack it down. I'll use the metal blade so that I don't spread it everywhere, and we'll just get it down. And that way it'll just work the ground, have some more, you know, mulch nutrient cycling happening here. Yeah, and that way we're not putting it into our system. Yeah, this coconut over here is basically dead, so we're going to remove that one and put another low-bearing coconut there. So just one of those things. So these types of systems are always dynamic, so we want to be able to roll with the situation all of the time. So it's like, that's dead or dying, I'm going to remove it, plant another one, no big deal. Same thing over here, we lost some of our Incalas. No big deal. We'll just go get some more seed. We'll plant some more. This system is still young. The system can still accept plants. May got to do a little bit of pruning to let them in. All right, the camera keeps dying, so that'll be it for this update. See you later.